Unless you got anything
You
else
didn't ask me about Dan Campbell.
Well, Brinson skipped the topic.
Yeah. We got a few minutes. Dan Campbell.
Producer Pete is literally doing his job producing, trying to get Brinson not to talk about Aaron Rodgers and to talk about Dan Campbell, and Brinson just blew him off.
I mean, I'm just talking. And Will, you were on the text chain with me, how angry I was when it happened. And I said this as soon as he did it, as soon as he went for it on fourth down, I said, in a second, they're going to go down and get a score, and it's going to be a one-score game, and then they're going to start pressing and melting down, and that's exactly what they did. You can't go for it.
You said that the game was over when the Lions were up 7 points. You're like, this game is over. The 49ers
and as soon as he went for it, because Costas is on that chain, and he was going, oh, he loved it. And I said, they're going to go down and get a touchdown and make it a 7-point game, and then they press, and then the game's over. That's exactly what I said. And that's exactly what happened.
You called Nick a Madden playing moron.
Yeah.
But now the one thing that I think has been sort of lost in all this is just like, take the points. They're not free points. They're not just there for your taking. Like the kicker was not very good.
Well, and that's also a problem of your organization and your team then that's on you. But here's the other thing. You take the points there because you go up 3 scores. You go up 3 scores. And everybody said, well, Reynolds dropped the ball. That all can happen. Just like the kicker can miss the kick. The guy can drop the pass. The quarterback can get moved off the spot. It happens. That's why you try and take them when you can to go up 3 scores. If they're up 3 scores, the 49ers take the field looking. How much time was left? Was it about 4 minutes?
7 minutes in the third quarter.
They're starting to look around going, oh, my God, 3 scores. We got to go now. We got to go.
No margin for error.
Right. You got to do that. Then the next time you have to tie the game. Kick it. What are you doing? And I go back and because I sat in that green room with Rick Spielman all year, and he's Johnny Detroit because his brother's works in the organization, Chris, who's a great dude, and he defends everything they do. I criticize every time he does it because remember against the Chargers when it late in the game, it's 4th down and 2, I think it was. And there was a minute 40 something left in the game, and the Chargers had 1 timeout left, and he decided to go for it rather than kick his field goal. It worked. He got the first down. He took 3 knees and kicked it, and the game was over. That was stupid too. That's dumb. The Dallas game, they could have had home field advantage in the playoffs if he doesn't go for 2 after he has the penalty, right? So, I mean, on and on. That's who he is. Be true to who you are. He should have been doing that the whole time. He was wrong. He got away with it a bunch. That's what I say. He got away with it a bunch. Then let's spin it forward to the goal line situation. The run using the timeout
that was worse.
What was even worse? The next play, 4th down, kick the field goal. What are you doing? You have to kick the field goal there.
Yeah, you know what? Once you wasted the timeout and it was already 4th down, it almost didn't matter. So at that point, I think you almost
you have
no.
to.
But at that point, you were not committed.
Yeah, but you have to give yourself every opportunity to spin it forward. If you kick the field goal, is an automatic from there. Even you breach, you can't kick, and you'd make that field goal. Okay, so give yourself an automatic kick. And then move on to the next spot instead of playing a play where you could have a drop. The guy had to make a great catch in the back of the end zone. Otherwise, the game's completely over.
They needed to run the field goal unit out there on 4th down with the clock running and kick that short field goal and then kick off. Then you could even kick off deep if you want because you got the 3 timeouts. The timeout
was
the timeout was the true.
They waited.
Running the football on 3rd down and then being like, oh, crap.
I don't like running them out from the 30-yard line necessarily, but if you're at the 10 or whatever they were, you run them out and kick that field goal, and then you go back and do that.
Yes, exactly. The timeout was the worst thing of all.
And the one thing I want to say real quick on the 4th down stuff, because I know that Michael Badgley's been brought up a lot and saying, the kicker only has a 60% career rate from beyond 47 yards, and it's a huge risk, is that the pushback there is that kicking is 90% mental. And Michael Badgley, since Christmas Eve, had hit 12 of 13 kicks, including a 54-yarder in the playoffs. So this is a guy who would have been very confident going up there. It's not like he came in hitting 40% of his kicks from that range. He was on a hot streak. And when kickers, it's like getting hot with 3-pointers. You're out there, your kicks are going through, you feel pretty good about it.
And by the way, it would have been a 45-yarder, right? The first one?
I think 48.
No, he was at
46 or 48.
Was he at the 28-yard line? Wasn't he? 28? I think it was the first one. I think it was at the 28.
Yeah, 28. So it'd been 46.
Yeah, so there you go, 46. If your kicker can't make a 46-yard field goal, they talk about was outside. So what? It's a 46-yard field goal. It's not like it's 20 below. It's Santa Clara. You got to make that kick
Outside of perfect weather, perfect kicking weather.
And here's the other thing: if you make the kick, you have all the momentum. And people talk about momentum doesn't matter. And the people who talk about momentum not mattering never played the game, never played any game. They played Madden. The momentum doesn't matter when you're playing yourself. You know, hey, I got momentum on myself. Here I go. Woo! I just beat the machine. The machine doesn't have momentum on me. I have momentum. Give me a break.
Nick? Was that Nick Costas?
Yeah, that's Nick
And
Costas.
George Kittle even mentioned the momentum. And players talk about it all the time. And then, like, the closest thing I think any one of us normal people can get to is if you've ever gone to a basketball court and you're shooting threes and all of a sudden you make 9 in a row, you're just feeling it. Like, there's no explanation. The hoop didn't get the rim didn't get wider. Your eyes didn't get better. You're feeling it.
They're skating. They were skating after that. They're skating. That's what they always say. They're skating.
You see this NC State helmet back here? Believe me, momentum is real. I think momentum. I know I've been on the bad side of momentum a lot, and momentum is real.
Hey, in 1996, Arizona State had a national championship in their paws, and they had momentum go against them, and that was the end of it.
Yep. I mean, I do think it is like you can't take away the fact that if you're down 3 scores, what happens different? What do the Niners do differently? You know, how do they act versus being like making it a 7-point game?
Well, here's the other thing. The analytics said it was almost an even split decision. So if it's a split decision, then you have to kick the field goal.
The analytic that's what's funny about this whole discussion. The analytics never really were like saying Dan Campbell needs to go. He needs to go. Like a lot of times you see that, and it was like for the most part, it was not a ton of analytics suggesting
By the way,
he had to go.
The analytics numbers that they use, those are from Detroit playing in Santa Clara in a playoff game with this the left guard who's a backup with this guy. The analytics are all one big body of work. I get it, but there are situations that change the analytics.
I think those are all factored in. Those are all factored into the analytics. Like for instance, the Lions converted 60% of their second down or the fourth downs or whatever, but then the Niners only allowed like 35%. So like that stuff is factored in.
That's their matchup, but okay, are they converting their fourth downs against bad defenses or against good defenses? Against defenses that rush the passer, against defenses that have big defensive tackles on the inside? Do they convert them running to the outside? Do they throw to the outside? Where they throw it? There's so many variables that go into it that they don't take into account. And if my for example, if it says always go for it on 4th and goal from the inch-yard line, most of the analytics would say go for it. If you, me, John Breach, and 2 other guys with the offensive line going against the 49ers defense, would it still say we should go for it? Of course not.
It would not.
No, if Jared Goff got injured on 3rd down, the analytics would still say go for it, but you wouldn't because your backup quarterback's in there and you'd kick the field goal. So, like, you've got to quantify the numbers.
Right. Game flow, game feel, game situations matter. There's my rant. Dan Campbell got away with it for most of the year, and it caught up with him in that game.
Brinson, you
still a great coach.
Let that rant happen.
He's still a great coach, by the way. I love the way he coaches. But
hey, Pete, let me ask you this real quick because I know you got to go. So, quick answer here. But Brandon Staley, he was Mr. Analytics, always going for him 4th down. Week 18 against the Raiders, with the playoff spot on the line, that's what he went for. 4th and 1 from his own 20-yard line. He got crushed, but he said that's the way we're going to do things. But it also seemed like for the rest of his career with the Chargers, he started second-guessing himself because of what happened there. Do you think Campbell starts second-guessing himself because of what happened in this game?
Somebody should sit him down in a room and say, hey, Dan, we got to rein this in a little bit. We're a good football team. We don't need this anymore. You don't need it anymore.
I think what happened with Brandon Staley is that Tom Telesco and John Spanos, and maybe even Dean Spanos, got in his ear about it, and that's why he started second-guessing himself. I don't think you'll see that in Detroit because I think Dan Campbell has a little more.
One last thing. I got so many Lions fans riled up on Sunday and Monday, and every single one of them says, you wouldn't say that to Dan's face. Brinson, if he was sitting right there, I would say, you
would say it to
blew
his
it.
face. Yeah.
You
Frisco
blew
does
it.
not gossip. If he says it out loud, he would say it to your face. That
I
is,
would say
I've
it.
heard-
And
yeah.
he might want to crush me or whatever, but I would say it.
Oh no, Pete has zero filter when it comes to what you would say to people to their face. I fully believe that. Like, I hope that you see Costos in Vegas. You're like, you're bald, or something. Something to that effect.
Your hairline's gone back since I last saw you. Welcome to
All right.
my world, Nikki.
All right, Pete.